Good evening, one and all. A warm welcome to everybody for this wonderful session that we are going to have with Dr. Edwin. Before we introduce the speaker, I would like to make a very brief introduction of our council member who is going to moderate the session. Divya, welcome and thanks for offering to moderate the session. A few words about Divya. Mrs. Divya is a qualified management professional with 12 years of experience, currently working with Olam International. She has handled various projects and transitions related to finance and supply chain management. She has also been with the CII, and she's a very active and enthusiastic participant of Wiki as well. So, Divya, I'm going to hand over the session to you, and you can introduce the speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rashi, for the introduction. So a very good evening to all. I would like to take you through the flow of the session. So Dr. Edwin will be speaking for around 20 minutes. We'll be taking the questions after Dr. Edwin's talk. So during the talk, if you have any questions, you can type the questions in the chat box or you can raise your hand. We will unmute you for your question. So now I take the opportunity to introduce Dr. Edwin. So Dr. Edwin is a first generation entrepreneur and has a PhD in clinical psychology. He is an elected member of the American Psychological Association. He has 2 decades of experience in awareness counseling and has counseled numerous people and even budding entrepreneurs. He is a socially responsible person and conducts psychological counseling sessions in various NGOs. So it's an honor, pleasure to have you with us, Dr. Edwin. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Divya. Thanks a lot. Thank you to also the Wiki team, all of the members, the President Raj, who I had a conversation in the initial days of starting this session. It was very soulful, I should say, because her initiative had really brought me to think more detail of bringing up a more profound way of this session, turning it out to be more meaningful. So thank you very much to the Wiki team and to the president and to all the members present here. And good evening to all of the participants. Good evening. This is a beautiful evening, weekend evening. So normally a weekend evening is with the family, but today we are here. So naturally, as humans, we always expect something to take back with us. So more than anything, I feel that we have to suffice this human expectation of taking back something from this session. I would love to see that there is some purpose which we have come here, leaving away so many other errands of life. We have been doing it here. So we will make it most useful. So as I have promised in my promo, there will not be no sugarcoating and no jargons involved in this session. So it will be basic threadbare discussions. It would be you who would be making it more fruitful by your interaction. That is what is the main focus of this session. So it's not just that I'm going to speak and you're going to listen and then we're going to say bye to this session. No, this is just, I'm going to start up with a few things. Why this session, the need for it, and the necessity and the cause of this particular session's pressing issues. So with that, I would like to start to all of you. The foremost thing is that we can probably break up the whole pattern of our requirement into 2 parts, maybe the macro level as well as the micro level. Women entrepreneurship, or the need for women in the fray of into this particular economic zone of entrepreneurship, into 2 different parts, maybe at the macro and at the micro. Our main focus would be on the micro level, but without touching the macro, there's no point going to the micro, isn't it? So macro, as such, I felt that the need is already started. Women are into the fray. They are competing. They are very much in this particular arena of entrepreneurship, building up the economy. If you take history, the statistics, it's very okay, not good as such. Even in the developed countries, we are talking about maybe 30% to 40% maximum participation. But leaving alone all that, coming back to ground level, we are talking about India, we're talking about our country, we are talking about the statistically proved of 14%, but studies have also given a better option of saying it is up to 20% that women are into this particular arena of entrepreneurship. But so be it, even for 14% or 20% doesn't make much of a difference because 90% are micro enterprises. So with this, the need of women, is it really needed, necessary? Is it growing, or should we really progress and boost towards it on a psychological point of view? Yes, it is very important on a macro level for a simple reason that we all have already started to see that on the macro level, the new world order is being designed not by political leaders, not by military leaders, but only by economical leaders. It is going to be the economy which is going to talk in the coming future of this new world order. It is not going to be other than anything else. So which great corporations are going to be a part of the building of the particular, the whole pattern of the world order. In such case, what we have seen in the past, whatever has been proved, has always proved that it is pathetic. It has always proved that the masculine model has always taken us to a very drifting, deliberate loggerhead of problems when it comes to the history of mankind. So humanity needs to be more gentle. That is what we are all looking and focusing upon. So women are going to be a greater part. The feminine power is going to play a greater part in this coming new world order. So the macro level decision makings are also need to be given to women or the feminine power as such, so that we can bring a order also, rather than the striving masculine model of instinctive survival. The killer survival instinct has to be taken away from it. It goes like this, that in reality, that only feminine power would be concerned of everything that is happening around and would help not to hold back anything, because it's an inclusive model. So it is very much needed. There is no doubt about it. And everybody's said that it is what the call of the hour is all about. So it is necessary that on a macro level. Okay, fine. That is all fine. We are not into a United Nations regulatory body to talk about this, but still we need to at least think about, when we think bigger, then we can come to the lower part of the requirements. So if women are to be here, if women have to be proved to be there in this arena, how do we see it that this building force is going to take us into it? At the micro level, if you see families, these are the building blocks in a particular community. These communities are going to build the other levels of socio-economical progression. So at family level, as my experience has gone, I'm here not to talk about theoretical subject, nothing about the London School of Psychology or the statistical analysis. Here I'm going to talk something more relevant, paralleling to the reality of life. What we see is that, women, the feminine power's entry into this beautiful arena of entrepreneurship. It comes in a very powerful way. What necessitates them is that either it is a necessitated requirement or it is a passionate requirement. We call it as a pull or push theory. It has to be something like, there is a necessity, I come into this frame. Necessity binds them to come in, and necessity turns to become more survival instinct, because that necessity of coming inside and to sustain inside, they have to superimpose or they'll have to shadow on some model which is nothing but the already existing masculine model. What happens? It's already a model which we talked about, the masculine model, more rigid, not gentle, and it is becoming more powerful, more power mongering, more competitive. But after even the feminine power entering into it and shadowing on the masculine model doesn't make any development in this way of progression. We find lots and lots of families breaking. We find lots and lots of family not happy at all, because the profit building is only one particular phase of the whole pattern, just a small jigsaw puzzle, a small part of it. So if we look at only the economic part of it, it could be a successful theory, but when it's seen as a wholesome product, then we are losing something at a greater level. This is what is the major reason for starting up this particular talk in this session. How do we take care and balance? Balancing work and life is a different subject. We are not talking about work and life balance, because work and life has to balance, and separating them itself is a wrong theory in my personal view. Working for 5 days in a week and trying to be happy at the weekend is something very totally wrong. We are talking about a model which is not at all a very powerfully sustainable model, but we are talking about something little more than that. A basic level is that how do our work and our family life get integrated together, how well we can weave this pattern and make it more progressive. That's the fundamental requirement in today's call. The number of families breaking, the number of marriages breaking is all to do is that that particular stint of focus has missed out somewhere. So we need to really break our time into this. Without your interaction, we are not going to go anywhere, because me just talking alone will not suffice here. So with this, I would like to throw open the session, because need more and more participants to tell your views. What exactly is that you're going through if you already entered into this arena? Or else, if I wish to enter it, what is that I foresee that it might hamper by seeing others in this who have already entered? Maybe a micro enterprise, maybe a smaller level, but still, what is that is a pressing issue as such in sustaining a more joyful and happily family life with the entrepreneurship model put together. Or people who wanted to get into the entrepreneurship model, they're already in a workplace, they're working for somebody, they are into a payroll in some big companies or small companies. They feel that their schedules are tight, they have no time for the family because they are preoccupied by the schedule of the company. So they need to get out of it and make something on their own. They wanted to start something. Most of the entrepreneurs I have interviewed in the past, I found that they were not able to manage, the time management was very less for them when they work for somebody, because they also have to take care of the household work. It's an inclusive model. They cannot let go like a male member, only focusing on the primary motive of profit building. No, they have to see as an inclusive, as a family. So they tend to move out from their workplace and start something on their own, so that they have the freedom and independence to start something on their own, so they can be free enough to manage both the family and the business. So if that is your point of view, if that has made you to move from your workplace and get into a particular entrepreneur model of an style working, let's discuss that also. So these are the basic factors. With this, I like to throw open the floor. I would like to have interactions so that we can sustain a more beautiful, exuberant, and joyful, life-giving, life-skilled life for this particular arena of business, just not profit building alone. Thank you very much. Divya, I think with that, we can go
Yeah.
forward if people can really come out with their
Yeah, very rightly said, Dr. Edwin. So, participants, if you have any question or if you have some life experience which you would like to share with Dr. Edwin for his views on that, so you can raise your hand or you can type your question. Parallelly, Dr. Edwin, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, in the meanwhile, when others are typing the question, so mostly I have seen with a lot of enthusiasm, people in the sense, the women start and their entrepreneurship journey. But down the line, after 10 years, I have seen automatically they'll divert towards their family, and slowly they come out of the entrepreneurship. So can you suggest something to get self motivated, or some theories, or with some case study, if you can share your experience or your views on that?
Yes, Ms. Divya. This is something which is very normal and common, which is happening in our society. That is all to do is that what is the purpose they have come into this in the first place. So it is all to do with the necessity or with the passion. If people have come with a necessity, they get actually they get cluttered into a particular model in which they couldn't breathe, suffocate, because they are fighting with something which is already being pre-designed. They do not wanted to change the model, but they wanted to sustain and exit and try to exist in that particular model, which is very suffocating most of the time. With the experiences I have gone through with lots and lots of families and women, I find that they do it per force. It doesn't work out. On the contrary, people who have come into this with passion, like in the pyramid of the basic hierarchy, they have crossed the first level or the second level. They find that there are sustainability is much better in the family, and they wanted to prove something new, something good in their perception of life. They feel that there should be more meaning and understanding to their purpose of life. They come into with the passion. Either it is to do with some sort of a giving back to the society or building up a model through which they can bring profits into the family. Either way, it's all a passionate linked work. So when they do that with passion, there is a lot of enormity of wellness we see in that. So that sustainability is higher. But unfortunately, that percentage is very lower. If you take a very few percentage of people only come into passion, but mostly who come in comes with a necessity, and either not that just because they have made what they have come for, they have winded up and gone. No, that's not the case actually. They are halfway through and they find that should I still keep fighting on this? There are much better things, because basically it's a very gentle system. The feminine system is so powerful, it's so inclusive that they get really wrapped up with this type of what we call this as a rat race. They really could not feel that they would like to keep, only because they do not have the purpose to come. There is some reason. There should be a higher level of consciousness, a perception of thought which they need to embed in it before coming in, not just by seeing somebody or paralleling something to say I'll also start something, because there is a necessity. Because one person's income is not enough. We need at least two people to go on tango with it. If that is the reason they come in, then only on profit building, their sustainability is minimized very fast. That is the only problem I have seen on my personal experience.
Thank you, Dr. Edwin. Rightly said. I agree to that. So we have Sujata Suresh who has raised her hand. So
Yeah, I'm doing it.
um,
Sujata, you can unmute and ask your question. Sujata?
Sujata, don't think too much. Just feel whatever you feel like saying. We are all amateurs here. We are all here to learn.
I think you have to unmute yourself, Sujata.
Yes, she's.
yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
This is a topic which is very close to my heart, I should say. And so I have some observations, sir. And I really like the way, Dr. Edwin, that you're bringing in the topic. And the way you're bringing it as the masculine and the feminine aspect of it. This is, like I come from the learning and development kind of aspect. All right. Firstly, my observations. I've been associated with training for almost about 20 years now, training into corporates, and their salaries were quite high, but they were not happy. Then this led me into an understanding of what could be the reason. If money is coming in, why are they unhappy? As you said so rightly, sir, there has been a lot of broken relationships. So what is it that's happening? Through the filters, through the experiences, a lot of knowledge got filtered, wisdom got added on, colleagues and friends started adding their perspectives. And then again, I re-looked and revisited the whole thing again. What you have brought in over here as masculine and feminine is phenomenal from the perspective that whenever we are looking at money, which is finance, is, as you said, it is one dimension of it. The part of the brain that I'm using for that is going to nourish one part of it, one aspect of it. But when we are looking at the feminine aspect of it, the one that is actually lubricating, nourishing, binding things together, these are all unseen factors which are actually contributing. What happens is that when we are actually looking at any number, we are looking at, say, bringing so many participants, or say, bringing in this money, or say, expanding this way. When we are looking at that, these all become target oriented. And when that targets of any form comes into the picture, there's nothing wrong about it. So it is left to, I'm taking it to the next level where, as a consciousness level, if we bring it to our consciousness, then I'm thinking if you can converse on that aspect of it, sir. Let me just complete. What I'm sharing here is that it boils down to the individual. In my mind, if I'm looking at bringing in some numbers and targets, if I'm keeping, it's wonderful because it helps me to recognize I can reach a particular goal, I can stretch the goal. However, with this comes a kind of thought form that, hey, talking to someone, it's a waste of time. My child is demanding this. I don't have small children, but I'm just sharing that. All right. I say that, oh, my child has come. I say, beta, I'm busy now. All right. Anything of this sort. What happens is that the very same one who is nourishing, who is by bringing the family together, bringing people together, suddenly has started talking a language which is cutting. So my request to you, sir, is this is a beautiful conversation. I would love to listen to you bringing in the dynamism as a feminine. How do I keep both these? How does a woman entrepreneur bring in this contribution in such a way that relationships grow, not just from the money perspective, but anytime we meet again, the same joy should be there. Some bring in money, some bring in something else. So, how does one nourish their brain or themselves? Because each of us is a combination of the masculine and the feminine. How to bring in that perspective? I would love to listen to you, Dr. Edwin.
Uh,
Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sujata Suresh. Thank you very much. You have given a very beautiful briefing before going into the subject. It's like a promo to what we wanted to really talk about it and what is very much needed as such. Do we need to teach a fish to swim is what is the question is all about. A woman by herself is so inclusive, so gentle, that she has a natural instinct of becoming a leader. She is a leader by herself. She is a team player. She is a money manager. What not she is. In a family, if you take parenting, without leadership colleges, there's no parenting. Without team playing, there you cannot bind with the elders in the family. Without managing the everyday administration of the house, that's the big money management we are doing it. But with all these powerful instinctive qualities, we lose one thing is that we start to identify ourselves with something else. We miss out the basics of our creation, the powerful feminine creation. And we try to monofocus on something which has been predominating from the past many years, maybe the last 700 to 1000 years of our history. If you take this survival instinct has always been there. Probably it shouldn't be blame it on the humanity of the mankind of our country, because the invasion was always there and we were always having this survival instinct. Maybe you would have given that time to the male order that yes, in order to protect their own women, in order to protect their own clan, somebody had to be out, trying to guard this particular society. So they had some purpose at one point of time, and that purpose changed to become a very dominant requirement, and they set up a model, and that model has been now mirrored in most of the aspects of our life in the other part of the gentle gender as well. As you have said, the feminine power needs to be sustained. It is in your hands, in our society's hands, how to go about it. But this is not going to be a theoretical subject that we are going to talk about. It can be a practical subject only when we look upon ourselves to see who we are. Are we here to compete with the masculine gender? Compete with them? No. They're much more bigger. How can a greater being or a greater inclusiveness can come and sustain itself into a micro-focused angle of it? Only thing is that, as I was saying, we should not identify ourselves with any other thing other than ourselves. It requires a lot of conscious learning. No B schools are going to teach us that, because all B schools are designed with the masculine model. Like, as you well said, number building, bringing candidates, bringing number of participants. This is how your portfolio goes. This is how your incentives are worked, your ex gratias work, your takeaway retentions are worked. But that's not the point here. Is that how do we sustain it? Start from the basics of the feminine power. Please, if every woman can think about, proud about their own power of femininity, that is, even at the macro level, is required now. We have all seen now, countries are not going to rage wars. There's not going to be missiles which are going to be crossovering the border or territorial things. It's also going to be only resources which are going to be talking about the tomorrow's world order. So with this gentle power, as I already told you, only feminine power would be concerned of everything around and would help not to hold back anything. Not a masculine model. It's proved. It's proved at many times. So I feel that we need to do a self-introspection. We need to really bring in a conscious decision that we sustain our gentleness, and that gentleness has to be propagated, accelerated in the workplace and everywhere. And there could be a shift in the paradigm. There could be a small change in the model, and that can become a more civilized model. That is what is more required in the humanity of existence today. That's the call. You have touched that, which means that you're very conscious enough to understand the importance of it. Only thing, it has to be put in practice. How do we put it in practice? How do we really bring it out? Yes, we will talk about it on the foregoing talks in this session. Surely we will not end up this session without giving some basic tools of how do we practice those things. Thank you, madam.
Divya, there is a question in the chat box.
Yeah. So I can see a question, doctor. So
Yeah.
it says identity crisis is base for humankind, and how identity crisis for women is that different from men.
Okay.
That also they're saying that there's no comparison and a unique identity is required for all individuals. Could you please elaborate on the women identity is causing her slow growth?
If there is something called identity crisis, then we are not going to take forward this subject any longer anywhere. Because identity is only looking upon ourselves of being evaluated by others, isn't it? If it is becoming more and more crucial of late that what we have been identifying ourselves within the family, within a close-knit society, is now becoming pan-global because of the social media. So our identities have become more broader in sense it has grown far and far, which has now brought into a situation that the word identity itself originally was not very appreciative. It was tweaked into self-esteem at one point of time, and then it was removed back, and they said self-esteem is something different, identity is something different. But what is the identity you take up or you try to impose upon is based on what others try to evaluate you. That's totally wrong. It's needed, but It will become more spiritual if we go forward in the subject, because identifying yourself itself is not required. The only reason we get identified is because we are stemming on a particular egocentric system in which we try to perform basis what is the expectation of others. Only basis others' acceptance, we try to perform. That is the basic problem we are now getting into this situation at all. Even if you take it now, since we are talking on a very subjective provision of called entrepreneurship. Now, what is that happening here is also very simple. When we get into a particular model, or when you get into a particular system, we try to identify ourselves with what is already available in the system. Once we start identifying ourselves in another system, we are mirroring that system. And if there is a flaw in that system, it is going to counter affect us. So my personal genuine experience, what I have gone through in my personal life, if I could share, is that focus on your core values. Do not look upon what's happening around you, because here majority is not right. Because we are talking about a rat race where everybody is running, everybody is trying to reach somewhere and turn back. Nobody knows for what they have ran and what they have achieved. Okay, then they blame it on other factors, saying midlife crisis. They say that I had a premenopause symptoms, a pre-andropause symptoms. Technically, medically, we try to blame with the available system. But no, it is not that. There should be a perception and a higher level of consciousness, which I already said, which means that we need to really increase our intelligence of in what we are trying to perform, rather than assimilating ourselves in what evaluations other expect out of us. We find so many deaths happening in the social medias. I'm talking about suicidals, because people have not identified them. Now every like is considered as appreciation, and people now starts liking in the social medias just because they know that if I like this person, tomorrow when I post something, he will counter effectively like me as well. It's a bartering system now. Everything is becoming so artificial. So let's leave that. Let us get into a higher level of consciousness to find that what is our core value, what is the perception we have, how do we increase our perception and our consciousness and our intelligence, so that these things will all look way forward, a very minute, minuscule part of the thing. Identity crisis is only when you are battered, shattered with so much of negativity, when we superimpose ourselves with others and other people's feelings. Then we live for others and we never live for ourselves, and one day we'll regret it. Most of the people we find is that they eventually regret it at one point of time in their life, but it's too late. Let's not make it too late. Let it be an early bird pricing. Let's have this awareness at the very start of our life, and even if we have missed it, at least now we should gear up and pull up our socks, and we should understand that yes, this is all not required when it comes to our sustainability and our well-being, building up our own well-being. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Edwin. So I request participants to ask more and more questions and utilize this opportunity. So in the meanwhile, Dr. Edwin, so if you can also tell us the top 3 characteristics which you, basis your experience, which you have seen in most of the successful women entrepreneurs.
See, it's a very lovely question. Rather than saying as successful entrepreneurs, whom I met, very few, short to say, who have been very exuberant, very joyful. I used to feel so happy talking to them. There is a reverberation of, understanding when I talk to such people. As I was telling you, the purpose is not, or I personally do not weigh people when they say that I've successfully climbed this ladder of entrepreneurship. This is what is my bank balance, because a small hitch is there. If I tell you a statistics, people who are in this forum should not get offended, but that's the reality of life. I was talking to Mrs. Raj in the initial time. I would like to reiterate that 85%, you have to market 85% of the families in our society merely exist. There is no life. Is it not pathetic? Merely exist. There is no life. There is no exuberance. There is no joy. There is no ecstasy. There is money. There is assets, movable, immovable. There is bank balances. So much and so forth. They have children, lots and lots. There are 5 children. I have witnessed that a couple came to us for separation. They wanted a divorce. They came for a separation. The session was on for almost a year. And during the farther end of the session, she got pregnant. She conceived for the 3rd child. What do you call it? Happy family? All these are biological requirements of life. That's it. They have come for separation. They were already 2 children. And on the process of this counseling was there, she had to carry the 3rd child. Doesn't mean that she's happy. So it's just a biological process. So if you take that as a factor, I see success is like how well you have placed yourself in the system, how well you are adapting yourself with the system and with your personal life, your family life. As I was telling to Mrs. Suresh earlier, never identify. It could be one of the best well-being tools I could say is never identify yourself with anything. Please do not do that. That is one thing. And the other thing is that always try to elevate your perception and intelligence. Always. At one point of time, without yourself, you will become a healer to people around you. You keep on, elevating your perception and intelligence. Be conscious about everything you do in life. When you're committed, basically how a person becomes success, even in a family life, in an entrepreneurship, in anything you devise and do it, how do a person become success is only because his thought process is first brought in there. Sustained thought process. He turns that thought process, first it plays in the mind, and then it turns to become a reality through emotions. So your psychosomatic works out there. Your mind and body combines to work on that. You think that with either faith or commitment. People who are so religious, so spiritual can embody it towards faith. I have the faith. I will do it. I will perform. This is my dream. I will have it done. You see, you will surely do it. Trust me, 100% you will do it. No 2 ways about it. Because that faith becomes a binding factor to turn your thought process, reverberates into an energy, and then transforms your dream into reality. It's your own building. It's all in the mind. Nothing else. Everything is in the mind. The whole reality of life we are living, so-called the illusional reality, is in the mind. We make it happen. And yes, we only make it happen. So if you have faith, well and good. That's what people say. I believe in so much in this my faith. This is the God and the goddesses I have always endowed upon. They will shower those blessings, and I will come up. I will prove, and I will be a successful person. They have become successful because they have somewhere embodied it into their faith. But some people say, I don't believe in all these things, and I don't have faith and all. No problem. Become committed in whatever your perceptions are, whatever you have secured. So first think what you have to do. If these 2 things corroborate together, you think and you get committed either through faith or through your normal mindset of commitment, you turn to become very successful, and that fear, phobia, everything goes away. Automatically it goes away. When you're not clear, when you're not focused, then comes the anxiety, the fear of how it will go, because we are only living in our own dreams of fear. We are creating a movie as if we do something, it is going to have a counter effect problem. Actually, it hasn't happened, isn't it? That is the horror movie we are creating, and we are trying to fail in that particular thing. So when we are clear and conscious, those things will totally get away out of our mind, and we'll perform well.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Edwin. Very rightly said. I totally agree with you. So now we have Dr. Rajshri, who has one question for you.
Yes,
Dr. Raj.
Dr. Edwin, you talked about an inclusive model that the feminine is always inclusive. I agree with you on that. But how can you give us any practical tips to manage our day-to-day demands and stress? Because inclusivity also brings various demands, right? So it's starting from the family to various things, and especially when you have small children, then that has a lot more energy needs to go there. So, what sort of practical tips can you give us to manage our energy better so that we are not short, like Sujata said, we are not cutting, because after all, we are also human. So, yeah, of course, we are gentle and we are very loving and we are very inclusive and we just bend ourselves doing things for the world. But we are human.
Yes.
We are human. And it's not like when you place us at that pedestal and say, oh yeah, you're great, you're everything inclusive. Where is the vulnerability? You know, we are vulnerable too. And how do we manage that kind of demand and that kind of st- I don't think stress is the right word. It's demand and what you want to give to people. It's like, I know I've faced it many times in my life. So it's like, I've tried to manage it 95% without being cutting, but sometimes it happens, because I'm human. So how do I cope with these situations? Yeah.
Thank you. Is it not very normal to err? To err is human, isn't it? So we always, when you said 95%, that's a very higher mark of performance, I should say. Way beyond the normal pattern of marking. It is much more higher marking, means it is an intelligent quotient of marking. So that's a wow for you, I should say. But okay, for answering this question, okay, people who are way beyond, very less in the scale of tolerance or vulnerability, it all happens very easily to us because we are humans. As you said, flesh and blood makes us to err always. Only thing is that how well have we trained our mind? Again and again, if you see in this session, this whole thing comes again and again. The word mind, 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 mind your business is what end of the day. We don't do that. We don't mind for ourselves. We mind for others. We play God many a times. We turn to become Atlas carrying the world on our shoulders. These are the factors which comes to us out of fear, out of insecurity, what we have seen in the lives of our own past ancestral pattern. It's a genealogical problem. If the theory says that the whole root cause of all this is that we have always been invaded and we've always been in a suppressed type of life. If we take our own country life, our great grandfathers and our ancestral pattern, it was always a survival instinct, and still we have got it. Even people, Mrs. Rajsri should understand that even millionaires have this fear. It somewhat comes as a gene expression. It comes in your DNA. But how do we get out of it is the very biggest challenge. The very biggest challenge is that we look everywhere around us, studying people, and we never ever thought we are a very minuscule part of the whole arrangement. We have never seen ourselves looking above. We never thought about it. When we look about, we only think about going to heaven, isn't it? We try to work hard on those conceptions of trying to be more ceremonial, dogmatic, of trying to become more benevolent enough to go to the heaven. But in this earth, on this earth, trying to be more sustainable, certain, and rooted, we only try to look around people around us. That's the biggest problem, is that. But how do we get out of it is that we need to really look into ourselves. There's nothing greater than this. If I could take 2 minutes, I would like to tell you something, a real incident. If you can read a book by Dr. Joe Dispenza. He has got so much of videos going around on the web platform, YouTube. You can see a lot of wellness programs and other things, short videos and all that. So, very powerful person. In one of his books called The Placebo, The placebo, You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza. A very true incidental story is that a group of scientists would like to work on a patient about the mind pattern, how mind power can be really devised. So they had to work on a patient. So they need a person as a specimen to work on this. So they approached the court for a person who is being given a death sentence. So anyway, he's a death convict. He's going to be sentenced to death. They said, can we have for experimental purpose? This happened in the US, and finally the Attorney General allowed them to take that person in their custody, but with the precondition that there should not be any grievous injury being given to him. It should be a very normal type of an examination. They assured him and they took him. So a setup was done that this man was brought out of the prison walls from the compound, and when he was put into the bus, these scientists who wanted to work upon him were on the civilian dresses. So they were just sitting beside in the bus, and they were purposefully gossiping within themselves so that this man can hear. So they were saying that I feel very sorry about this man. He could have better been given the capital punishment inside the prison. Poor guy, like that, creating some sort of a panic in this person's mind. So with this person was brought to the facility where the experiment has to be conducted. So when they brought him into the facility, he was put inside a larger room which was painted white all over, and he was made to sit in the middle of the room. And after some time, they brought in lots and lots of venomous, vicious snakes inside the room. Venomous snakes, poisonous snakes, hissing around everywhere inside the room. So this man could see that there are snakes crawling around him. And after some time, they blindfolded him so tight that he cannot see and only can hear. After blindfolding him, they took away all the snakes from the room. And they set an audio system which was playing only the hissing of the snake sound. This was done for a few period of time. And then later, one of the scientists brought in a pin and pricked him in his calf muscle, just pricked in his calf muscle. He screamed out of fear. He had an hemorrhage. He died instantly. Now, if I finish this story with this, it doesn't make any big thrill or sense to anyone, because we all know that sometimes fear can bring us instant death. So his fear towards snakes probably would have brought an instant death. But that's not the case. When the postmortem was done, they found true snake venom in his blood. So this is the power of mind. Short to say, the whole session of today rests in only one point, is that this is the power of your existence here. Whether it is an angel for you or whether it is a Satan for you is all what you devise it. Nothing else. It's not outside. So when we are challenged with so much of anxiety, challenged with so much of feardom within us or intolerance, all these things happens only when we are disturbed. If we are calm, aren't we more angelic in our own behavioral pattern? So in order to bring this mind under control, lots of techniques are there, available are there. Lot of people have come out with a lot of postural techniques also. But for me, a simple way, I thought I will have this given in the end of the session, but still it's so relevant that you have to just sit for 20 minutes a day, closing your eyes at one posture. And that posture should be not so sleepy or something like that. So you are vigilant about, just close your eyes for 20 minutes with your hands clasped and your toes joined together, sit erect, spine erect, close your eyes for 20 minutes and sit. Trust me, out of experience, I'm telling you, trust me, beyond all the psychology, beyond all the academics, this subject helps you to travel inside, do a self-introspection, and we turn to become more understanding, more tolerant. And when we become more tolerant, all these things dies away. Trust me, the fear factors goes away, because all that fear is nothing but somebody has told us, and this has gone inside subconsciously to our mind. In the subterranean mind, these are living. The garbage bin is inside us. We need to throw this out. It's only when we meditate, slowly these things come out of us. They trickle out of us. They come out to our eyes as a 70mm movie. They keep going around us. All those memories slowly try to pass away from anything. It could be all your sorrows, your mysteries, your downfalls, whatever you have seen in your life. You have been hurt, or you have been really slaughtered for whatever happened without your knowledge. All that pain and misery inside you will have to go one day. But the problem is that even when we are 40, 45, we try to accumulate all these things in our subterranean mind and keep it for ourselves as an asset value.
And I think that is more of a feminine thing also. Men don't internalize as much as we do. We internalize a lot.
Yes.
So it is always, yeah.
Very true. That word you used is that word inclusiveness comes in that.
Yeah, because we are inclusive, we internalize, So that is something which I have understood. Yeah. Yeah, Divya.
Correct. So there's one more question, Doctor, for you. This question is from Ashwini Krishnan. How does one deal with betrayal from family members and cope up with the lingering sadness?
Can you repeat the question?
How does one deal with the betrayal from the family member?
Betrayal.
Betrayal.
Okay. So how intelligent is the person who has asked this question? How intelligent is she to first judge that it was a betrayal? Is something which we have to look upon. It's a study. It's nothing but a study. See, on the face of it, lot of things what we perceive doesn't turn to become true. Needn't be. It could be a greater misunderstanding. It could be a non-expressive situation. You're talking about a relationship where there is a lot of introvertism. They don't try to express it out. Very non-expressive relationships sound like they are very betrayal. But betrayal is again underlined in what type of betrayal? Betrayal of trust. Very unforgiving. Infidelity. Very unforgiving. What type of betrayal are we talking about? If she can be very specific, probably we can go a little further on it. Because if it stands in these two things, trust and infidelity, there is no going forward, because you need to become more saintly in order to give way of this particular forgiveness of life. So mostly trust is gone, the whole pattern is left. The trust is gone, there is no relationship at all. However well you try to cope up, however well you try to mend it, it's short-lived. That's my feeling, Divya.
Thank you, Dr. Edwin. So you were talking about some of the tools, right, Doctor? So if you can touch upon some more tools.
Tools, as I was saying that, we can put all the eggs in one basket, okay? For the vegetarians, you can put all the potatoes in one basket. So very simple is that all these well-being tools, there is a basic foundational requirement. If you say that you need to principally become more tolerant, you need to become less anxious about things in life, you need to become more forgiving with people, you need to forget things in life. These are the well-beings which we always like to take it up, whether in a family life or in a corporate life or in an entrepreneurial life or in a team playing, anywhere for that matter, whether it is commerce or non-commerce. All these things plays a very important role. Without these things, family or your commerce doesn't make any sense. So for all these things, a person has to become very balanced. In order to become very balanced, first he has to understand that what is pressing him or her in this particular situation of not becoming balanced in life. If they can probe into that core phenomena of why am I very disturbed, why am I not tolerant enough, why am I not balanced, why is that I'm seasoned for various things but not in other things, I am a good mother, I am a good wife, but sometimes I'm not a good mentor or I'm not a good entrepreneur outside. What happens, these devices, is that first find out your core requirement. You need to first identify what is that you are looking out in your life. What is that you really want to do? If you really wanted to do something, it has to be a little different. You can't do the same thing what others are doing. Because if you have to work on what just others are doing, the same thing you wanted to do it, naturally, instinctively, that fear and anxiety will come because you are no better than others. You're just in the fray of fighting with the same set of competitors. So you need to bind in some USPs, something very unique, something which you can really bring in meaning. If you can bring that purpose, for example, if that question is thrown upon me, I would say that 20 years back, I come from a shipping background. I'm I'm in international shipping and logistics. Shipping was a common an area of operation. Everybody had brought in ships, and we used to trade with them like a neutral operators. We book containers with the vessel operators from the customer. So customers used to give us the support. So we take their cargo, we put it into a container and put that container onto the ship. There are some 5 or 10 players who handle vessels, and we are in the market sourcing cargo. How do we source? We use it, our marketing talents, our customer relation. So with the customer delight, we go and bring those cargos. But this is what is happening in every other trading house or a neutral operator consolidator. We have competitors, something like in Chennai itself, there is something like 350 to 400 operators operating. What big difference does it make that I'm going to give a different customer delight? Am I going to keep on laughing at them and talking to them over phone? Or I'm going to give them a long extended credit, 90 days, 120 days, and then bite my fingers not knowing what to do? Something unique, you know. When we wanted to do, we thought, okay, everybody at that point of time, 2 decades back, everybody was consolidating the cargo in Chennai as a pigeon box, you know. They put all in one thing, take it to Singapore, de-stuff in Singapore, and put it into the respective boxes to that particular country it is destined to. So it is like collectively taking it from Chennai and putting it in Singapore and then channelizing it there for various countries. So this is what everybody was doing. We thought, can't we not start one country as a direct consolidation? We open a box in Chennai and we only close it elsewhere. Which country is that? So we chose United Kingdom. We thought UK would be a better option for us because that point of time we had a joint venture with our UK partner who was very aggressive, who was doing our counter marketing there. So we opened the box and we advertised saying that you give your cargo in Chennai, we will put that cargo, the same condition what you give us inside the container, and that will be opened at the warehouse in UK by our office there and delivered to your customer. There is no middle handling, there is no theft in between, there is no damage, and the transit also will be much faster because packing, unpacking, and then reloading again, the transit time also will be brought down. Just a small change in the whole pattern. That was a success for our story. Very short reason for a success story. So you need to find something unique. It is possible in every field. If you take that field and do an analytical study, you do some sort of an assimilated analysis, you will find one unique thing you can give. So that spark and that fire need to be there. With this and a self-introspection of yourself through meditation, that's the easiest thing which anybody can do it anywhere. There is no other thing required. So in order to bring all these things into one portion of it, just try to close your eyes for 20 minutes and sit calm in one day. It's very difficult, very easy to say, sit and see for 20 minutes. You will have so much things. Oh, the cooker is on. Well, my child is crying. The phone is ringing. Somebody is on the door. Let me finish off now and then later sit for another 20 minutes. No.
Exactly. I was about to tell you that, Dr. Edwin. That's very difficult to do, actually. If we are able to meditate for 10 minutes also, it's a big thing. So, yeah, Doctor. So there's one more last question, actually. So
before that, Divya, Ashwini has, a message in the chat box. Could you just take it up?
Yeah. So Ashwini, for the same question what she has asked, so she has elaborated that, saying that this betrayal is with regards to finance and emotionally blackmailed background. So she's unable to forgive, it seems. So how to deal?
Basically, very good. That's what I was saying. When we come to the specifics, probably we can really talk about it. Mostly very uncomfortable couples, like after marriage, if you find that there is not much of transparency between the spouses, Mostly these type of finance matters are always kept very private, and not much has being evolved between them. Nobody knows what is happening at either side.
Sorry to interrupt. I
Yeah.
think she has put it as it's a betrayal of trust with different members with regard to finance and emotionally blackmail. It's not with the spouse.
Um,
It's not just with spouse, it's with different members.
Different members in the family.
So she had given some sort of a support to the family, and they have probably betrayed her by not paying back or something.
Yeah, exactly. I think
so. She's a very fine woman. That's it, because she's bundled with emotions. So she had done it as a woman. She's a man would have seldom taken that type of a step. Normally, women tend to do that because they are bound with so much of love and emotions. So they can't see somebody in distress. So they find something happening for somebody wrong. That's what I said. That comes under the inclusive model. That I use that word. They would help not to hold back anything. Whatever is concerned around them, everything that is concerned around them, they are very much concerned, and they will not hold back to anything. That's the real feminine power, actually speaking, while gloriously taking up on the pedestal of that power. But it also requires a lot of strength to understand, which may be that she was not in a position to analyze or evaluate with whom she was being dealing with. Probably that emotional blackmail is our childhood weakness. We have to travel back to our childhood. The childhood days, the upbringing of our parenting during the childhood days could have been a very different type of childhood upbringing, which would have brought her to be very softened and supple when she had grown up in life, and when she could really part away with some of her asset valued finances and other things. So this comes as an, people try to emotionally blackmail her, or try to give her some sort of a sops so that she feels sorry for that and try to help them out. These type of things, which is quite common, actually speaking, with women. Mostly we see that this is a trail of problems we face with women. So to become very stronger, and it is that they have to take a decision that they should not decide in what type of parting should be done. They should always have a person along with them. It should be two for a tango. So when you leave it to one person, naturally you tend to fail in that process naturally, because you're a woman. You are so soft, you're so goody to people, you're so benevolent, you're so generous, so you feel sorry for people. Life is all about what? Giving, helping. So what? This is what is the aptly thing which strikes in the initial. But when you are backstabbed, or when you are really put into a turmoil, then you feel sorry. Why did I do that? For such unstable mind people, it is better that they don't take decisions. They don't decide on themselves, on their own. So they take somebody in consideration, maybe a family member with whom they are very close with, and they discuss with them, and through them, if things can be done, then they can have a collective decision, and they can take a wise decision also, rather than taking it on their own. That's the best thing I could tell, or I could advise them.
Yeah, doctor, thank you. And one more question from Raj Lakshmi, that is, don't you think women are so easy to forgiving others than themselves?
Personally, not so. I'm sorry.
Okay.
This forgiving is absolutely a different concept of mindset. We tend to say that we forgive, but do we forget? It is all interconnected. A lot of people say, I have forgiven you, but I have never forgotten. It again comes up. As I told you, it will again shimmer out of yourself. So to forget and forgive has to go along together. It can't be one thing. So forgiving others and not forgiving ourselves is some sort of a guilt. Never turn it to become a self-pity at one point of time. If you're not forgiving yourself, take it for sure you have not forgiven anybody in your life, because it starts here and then travels outside. So it's just an illusion of mind. You're trying to play good to yourself. Somewhere you're trying to tell yourself that you're good. No way. Psychology says very clearly that if there is peace inside, only peace can go outside. It's two-way traffic. It's not one-way. Sorry.
Very, very true. Very true. Are there any more questions? Or I think, Divya, we can wind up the session if there are no more questions. My internet connection is a little unstable. So are you able to hear me?
Raj, we are able to hear
I can hear you.
Okay. 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 Dr. Edwin, this was a wonderful session. I think, like you rightly said, what is within is without. So everything starts from inside. You know, when we are more peaceful, more balanced, more aligned with ourselves, we are able to give out more. And I really like spoke about the the male model which is obsolete where you're talking only about and numbers and success. Definitely the female or I should say the model, the inclusive model, I cannot say that men are not inclusive. The inclusive is the way to go for the future. And also, it is not just money and numbers. It also comes with people, contribution to others. And entrepreneurship is never only about yourself. It's always about others as well. So on that note, I would like to thank you very much for this session. And Divya, thank you so much for the wonderful moderation. And,
Thank you, Dr. Rashi.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Raj, and thank you, Mrs. or Mrs. Divya.
Mrs. Divya.
Mrs. Divya, thank you very much. Yeah, you look so young that I had this doubt to ask you, Miss or
So
Mrs.
nice.
So it was a very lovely session. I think it was a very soul-touching. Mrs. Suresh had brought in a very lovely question, and Raj had weaved in a lot of other interrelated questions as well. And thank you, Divya, also for bringing up a few specific things from the general viewers also. So I'm very happy basically that I was part of this team to give us something little useful. Hope that everything turns green, that when we really try to change from, rather than trying to change others, we try to change ourselves. With this note and ending note of a simple, as I requested to all of the listeners or the viewers, is that a 20 minutes of your self-introspection meditation would unwind a lot of clarity in you. Trust me, no big models can teach you better than yourself. The instinct to teach, everything is inside. The whole knowledge bank is inside. We need to trigger it out. Successful people have always seen first within themselves, and they have come and become great entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and they have become great givers to the society. That is also very important. Just keeping your share for yourself is not entrepreneurship. It is how you try to give back to the society. The way you have grown out of these things is more important for a sustainability of a gentler and a well-civilized, balanced society. So with this, thank you to all of you for giving me an opportunity to be here on this platform.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Abhrami, as always, our back-end moderator.
Yes, this shouldn't end without thanking Abhrami, because she was the person who had really brought in me here, and I'm thankful to her also as well. I'm very sorry, Abhi, having missed you, because personally known her, I thought I could always call her and tell her, but it's always better to put it on the forum as well. It goes as it's recorded.
And thank you so much for the Wiki Council members as well. It was a well-attended session from many council members. So thank you so much. And we look forward to more of it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.